Hello YouTubers. In this video we're going to be working on fitting wheel spacers onto my 2009 Saab 9.3 Aero cross-wheel drive. Just so you know, this video has been going on for months. I have started videos, finished videos, restarted videos, finished other videos, on and on and on and on in the attempts of trying to get one good video that can cover everything that's been done. And a lot has happened. So we have a lot of what not to do to show you in this video, and we have we have a couple of things of what does work. So I can't show the side of the car because I don't want to. This video is going to come out before other videos, and I got new wheels, so I don't want to cover that yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these wheels off, put back on the old wheels, just the wheels themselves, and we're going to show you how to fit these wheel spacers and the things that you need to consider when doing so. So the first thing I want to do is get this car up in the air, take off these wheels. We'll unbox the old wheels, put it back on, and show you the parts that I've bought over these many months. So let's cover what it is I'm trying to resolve or address. In this case, on the all-wheel drive cars, the wheels tuck pretty far up in there, maybe on all of them. I don't recall this on my 2006 convertible, but maybe so. Maybe all wheels tuck too far up in there. And it doesn't look right. It actually looks, maybe from the side it looks fine, but from the back it looks not, I don't know, doesn't have the right presence. So I'm trying to address that by bringing the wheels closer to the wheel fender liner or the wheel well or edge of the fender without coming all the way to the fender. That is not going to be this video. I am not looking to install spacers that come all the way to the edge. That's not going to happen. But we are going to bring it out some. And so there's a lot to do here, a lot to think about. The front, if you have one of these cars, you already know that the front sticks out further than the rear, and that's really not our problem. But it could use some finessing, making it look a little bit better or more in tune with what we plan to do with this back here. This needs to come out further than the front. So what are the things to consider? First, for me, it is, what is this hub? How far out does it stick? The lip of the hub, this part here. And so for me, I need to know this size. So let's get that. The size of this hub is 65.1. What I'm looking at now is the outside the same as the inside? So let's put it to the wall. It's essentially 65. Let's bring it back out. Actually, maybe I'm crooked, but it's a 65. 65.1 is what this says online this hub size is. Maybe they're right, but I'm coming up with 64.95 on the inside and the outside. That's very important. Very, very important that this is straight across, because this tells us something. When the wheel sits on this, what is holding the wheel onto the car? Well, we know the lug nuts or lug bolts do that on this car, but also this is the centering of the wheel. The wheel lug bolts are the fastening piece of this. They also help hold it in place in space, but the majority of the work is being done on this lip. This is where your wheel rides. So if this is straight across, let's find out if the wheel is in fact straight across. I doubt it is. So let's take a look. My micrometer will not go up in there, which is unfortunate, but you can tell looking at this that the wheel is tapered. The hub is tapered. You can see that it's not straight across. As you look at it, you should be able to see, like I see, that the inside looks smaller than the outside by me holding it like this. Now, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that the further the wheel sits onto the hub, hang on, she's going for a walk. The more that the wheel sits onto the hub, the more it holds it in place so that it cannot shift around. If the wheel sticks out here and barely makes contact with this hub, that's the fatter part. So the wheel can move. The wheel can shift in space if it's not making all the way contact all the way to the back. Even though this is flat, that tells us one thing, but it also tells us that the wheel is not. It is tapered, and it needs all of this in order to seat properly. It takes all of it. This is where it sits, right up in there. So if that's important, that also tells me that regular spacers without Hubcentric rings, which is what we would call this, and I'll show you that in a moment, a regular spacer without that would fit over top of the wheel is going to make the wheel not go all the way in, which means that the taper doesn't go all the way in and is making less contact onto the hub. I hope I'm making sense. It needs all of this in order to make proper contact. Now, if I could get my measuring tape up in there, and I will do that, I will find out how much space that is. That looks like 10 millimeters. You see the inside silver? To me, the wheel goes further. So if we think that the wheel needs all of this to make proper contact, how much of this is here? So let's get a measurement of how much of this is sticking out. So what we're looking at here is the depth of the hub. And if it will focus, focus. We're sitting at 5/8 of an inch. I'll pop up millimeters. Okay, so if this is 5/8 out, how much of this is tapered in? If it only goes in, tapers in for, let's just say 1/4 of an inch, it's going to be more than that, but let's just say it did. Well, that means the other remaining 3/8 of an inch is a flat surface. So let's find out where this thing sits. Where does it start to get crooked? I can see it here, and it is this point here. That line there is where it starts to taper in. So let's find out how big that is. I'm sorry, if this doesn't show up, I'm gonna pop it up on the screen for you. But this is approximately 3/8 of an inch. From here to here, that is our line where the tapering begins and where it ends, right there. So if we have 3/8 of an inch, that is part of the taper, the remaining 5/8 up here, which is 1/4 of an inch, or 2/8, isn't that 1/4 of an inch? Yeah, that's 1/4 of an inch. That 1/4 of an inch is flat surface. That means, what that means is we could put a 6 millimeter wheel spacer on this hub, and the wheel will still fit perfectly because it will have used all of its mounting surface to the straight point right here. It would have gotten to that point there where it needs to be, so that it is now a flat surface right across this right across this. I hope I'm making sense. So what I did, knowing this information, is I bought a series of wheel spacers. So let's review what I bought. So here we are with some Amazon wheel spacers for the Saab 9.3, and these are 3 millimeter wheel spacers. And when I go to put these on the car, there is no issues with them that I can tell. When these are on the back of the car, there is 0 vibration in the car, period. No vibration whatsoever. with these 3mm spacers. So I bought a set of these and decided no vibration. Well, let's move up a level. So I bought 5mm spacers. And these right here, same brand, go on just fine, fit perfectly. When I put these on the back, there is no vibration at all riding down the road. Zero. It is perfectly balanced. The car rides perfectly. So with 3 or 5 on the back, the car is good to go. So what I did then was I said, well, I will buy 2 5s. And I will put these on the back of the car together. And run this. Car vibrated. But we know why now. We need a 1/4 of an inch or better space here, and there's not. So the wheel never centered itself on the back of the car, and so we had vibrations. So what I did was I took one off, put a 3mm on there to make 8. And we had more bite. We have a 1/4 of an inch here, and the car rode perfectly. No issues with a 5 or 8. It did not like 10s. So that made the car look way, way better in the back. But I needed to address the front. I didn't want the back to look better than the front. I want front and the back to look equally well. So when I put on the 3 up here, the car rode fine, but it did not like it. It was still vibrating at a certain speed. In actuality, it was 70 to 73. 70 to 73, it would get a vibration on certain roads, which is really weird. It's not the whole time. It was certain situations. And I know that I need only a 1/4 of an inch in order to get the wheels to sit, but the wheel had plenty of bite on here. But I took it a little bit further and I put on the 5, and it rode exactly the same. It did not ride worse by putting on the 8s. And I would have thought it should have ridden worse, but it did not. It rode the same. I never wanted 8 on the front in the first place. That was never, ever, ever my goal. My goal was 5. But like I said, this has been months of work, months of trial and error to get to this point. This is what I want. Even with the 5 or the 3, the car vibrates between 70 and 73 on certain roads. The same roads. Doesn't matter what day of the week. It's the same stretch of road that I ride all the time. Between 70 and 73, this is a problem. And you're saying I could go slower or I could go faster, and that will resolve the issue. I don't want the car to have a vibration, period. So, what I have surmised, and we're gonna find this out next, is we're going to be putting on a larger diameter wheel spacer. So from here to here. So let's get the measurement here and see what we're going to buy that's larger than this. So I meant to mention this. What do I mean by larger diameter? Why am I concerned about that? My thought process here is maybe this void here, the wheel sits against this, there's a void going around the wheel. And maybe there is some stress in the wheel because it's not seated fully to the wheel, or to this whole wheel hub setup. That's my thought process. Right or wrong, I'm wondering, it's only a gamble, again, this has been months in the making, if this void is part of the problem. So before I can order revised wheel spacers, I need to know what size is this, because I know I want whatever is to come after needs to be larger. So here is the diameter of this hub, this wheel spacer. It is basically 139 millimeters across. It's the 65.1 bore with 5x110 bolt pattern. Perfect, except we want to find a larger one. So what we've been talking about is the front, but really my goal was to fix the back. I want the front to come with it. I want it to look symmetrical, but the back is way off. So what I did was, like I said a minute ago, I tried 10 5s in the back, I've tried 8s in the back, and the car is happy. It's happy in the back. It does not like 10s in the back. It would vibrate, and it would vibrate in the front. Didn't matter. And that's because we know the wheel wasn't seated all the way. It needs to seat all the way up onto the hub. So what I then did is I decided to buy Hubcentric wheel spacers for the rear. So here are the ones I bought for the rear. These are H&R 15 millimeter with the Hubcentric ring. And those are going to support the rear of the car. So we measured the circumference of this. Let's measure the circumference of this. Okay, as we know, those measured 139 millimeters across, which are small. These are 144 across. I put that onto this wheel and it rides perfectly. Perfect. This fixes the rear. With 15 millimeters on it, it sits perfect. And so I'm happy with this. So the back is done with these wheel spacers. The front, we need to order larger diameter wheel spacer with the same bolt pattern and bore hub. So let's get those in and we'll see what we got. Opening the box, I can already tell I'm in a different category. This is just packaged well, comes with its own paste, some instructions that the other ones did not. No idea what that is. I'm sure it's in the instructions somewhere. And here are our spacers. And they are wrong. Y'all see what's wrong. All right, looks like we have to send these back. So here we are a week later. Let's just show you the part number. 10218E. You can get them in black if you want them in black, but I want them in this color here because that'll match the brakes and just everything looks nice and new in there. So these are the correct ones. Wanted to make sure of that before I open it. Look like a fool like on the last clip, but here we are. We have everything we need. Now, back again, where were we? We wanted to measure off how big these were. These are going to be bigger. I can already tell. So let's open this thing up even further. That looks to be the new number, 148. So these are approximately 10 millimeters wider, which is going to give us a better fit onto the hub. So let's put these on the hub and take a look. You remember, this is how it normally looks with these wheel spacers on here. Notice the gap there. What I want to show you is that normally the wheel sits against this whole thing. And what I'm hoping is that by using these spacers and having that gap, it could have caused the wheel to want to not seat properly and maybe vibrate. We're gonna find that out, right? One way or the other, we'll find out if these spacers are better, but I wanna close this gap so that the wheel can make full contact with something, not partial. So let's fit the new one. So here we are with the new spacers, and They line up just fine. And it closed that gap. This, I think, I'm hoping, is the distinguishing feature of this wheel spacer versus the other cheaper ones that's going to stop the wheel vibration. This right here, because we already know that we've already talked about the lip and its mounting surface. This 5mm spacer is not going to interfere with that. The wheel should slide all the way on and make perfect contact onto the hub. So yeah, let's put the wheel on and we'll take her without giving away my new wheels. That's how they sit. Perfect to me. I think that's dead on, or if it's not dead on, it's far better than what it was. So let's take the car for a ride. Take a moment to show you what's going on with lug nuts, because you can't put on wheel spacers and you can't talk about wheel spacers without talking about lug nuts, or lug bolts in my case. This is the original. When I added the 10mm, I bought 10mm longer lug nuts. And now when I bought the 15mm spacers, I bought another 10. The hub can take it. I'd rather have more bite onto the hub than less bite. So I'll put in a description on the ones I bought from Amazon, from China. You better get yours before the tariffs kick in. But yeah, that's what we got. Let's get those on the car with the spacer. All right, here we are out on the highway. Pretty stable. Normally around this speed, we get some vibrations. No vibrations. So far so good. Can I tell a little bit? I don't know, it might be the road. Let's move on up. No vibration. So what I will say is that the wheel spacers have made an improvement. What I need to do is drive it for probably a couple of more weeks, make sure that something doesn't come up and cause a vibration. I also will say that if there is a vibration after these wheel spacers, I would assume A, it's not the wheels because they're perfectly brand new. B, not the wheel spacers, but maybe it's the axles in the front. Maybe they're out of balance. Maybe, because they're old. When you look underneath there, they're very old. Maybe there's a problem with the axle. I don't know. But the car doesn't exhibit any signs with axle problems. I'm just saying that maybe that's not perfectly balanced and I'm feeling vibrations as a result of the axles. We'll just have to see. Get in the slow lane so I can go 70 without causing a wreck. Yeah, it's always right in this area, right in here. I'm just not looking at the wheel like I am. I'm just not seeing anything. I really think these wheel spacers have fixed it, but I'll come back to you in just a moment with a result from 2 weeks from now. Okay, it's been actually a month since that drive took place, and here's what I can report. I do get a vibration, slight vibration. It is improved. It is definitely improved, but there's still a vibration now only when at that speed, 70 to 73, 74, and going into corners. So doesn't matter if it's left or right, it just gives some small vibration. So I'm going to track that down or lay blame on the axles being the issue. That's the only factor that makes sense, because it's only when turning. So something is going on with the CV joints that is causing the vibration. Now, I will say it does not happen when I have the wheel spacers not on the car. It only happens when they are on the car, but that's the only thing I can think of. Now, like some of you are going to say, if you've watched this far, you're going to say, just deal with it, and I am. The car looks fantastic. It's come a long way from when I bought it, and it looks how I always envisioned it to look. Not too low. Wheels don't come all the way out to the wheel well. It doesn't look like a boy racer thing. It looks like this could have come from the factory. Anyway, YouTubers, I hope this video helps you. If you like the video, like the video.